Hello, it's Chrissy. Thanks for being here. I know it's been a little bit since I've done a video. Don't hate on me, I've been busy. And one of the things that I've been busy with is getting married. Yay! And I want to talk a little bit about that today. And then I also want to talk about something that's really important to me and something I think that we need reminding of every once in a while, which is sometimes it feels like, what if we really don't have OCD and all this stuff is real? And that can really get in the way of getting better and getting treatment or talking to people or really feeling stuck. And I just want to tonight just share with you a little bit about what's happened over the last few weeks that I feel like you're going to be able to relate to, and that I think it helps me to feel connected to you when I was in a state that didn't feel so good as well. So, firstly, I got married like a week and a half ago, which is awesome. It was a great time, and Sean is awesome. At some point, I'm going to bring him on so you can meet him and talk about relationships and OCD and stuff like that. But I want to tell you that OCD showed up probably about a good week and a half before the wedding. And here's the thing. I knew OCD was going to show up. I even thought to myself, okay, I'm going to get married. So obviously something's going to happen. There's going to be a big trigger. I was thinking it's going to be the fear of vomit, or maybe the fear I'm turning gay, or I'm a pedophile, or something like that. And I've struggled over the last year and a half with some real life OCD stuff, meaning like OCD is attached onto things like injuries that I've had and stuff like that. And sure enough, it hit. So I want to talk about that first, and then I want to talk about, and that will lead into the fear of what if I don't have OCD. So it hit on, what was it? It was a Thursday. So this was about 2 weeks before the wedding, because we got married on a Wednesday. And I all of a sudden got this weird pain in my foot and yada, yada, yada. And it was in the other foot. And I'm thinking, oh, no big deal. It's just OCD. But then all of a sudden, somehow all the stars aligned. And I started to really worry that, oh my gosh, this time it's not OCD. And this is real. And what's going to happen is this is going to bug me so much leading up to the wedding that I'm not going to be able to go through with it. It's going to ruin the entire weekend. I'm not going to focus on anything. And these thoughts started to consume me. And I did notice that I was doing compulsions. I'll be honest with you. Like, I noticed that I was doing the same things that I was doing with the other foot that was injured, which was, constantly checking. The first thing in the morning, I would check to see, and then if something did hurt, then I would be like, oh my God, the whole day is ruined, and then I'm not going to be able to do this and that. And I would start thinking about the future of my life. And I'm never going to be able to do all of these things. And, I would think about, I'm going to London here in a month. And every time I thought about London, I would think to myself, oh my God, I'm not even going to be able to walk around without it being in pain. And so it really just came on to me almost like it was just this dark cloud that consumed me. And Sean was working that weekend. So he was working all day Friday and all day Saturday. So I was completely alone in these thoughts that I didn't want to tell him about. Because I didn't want to tell him, hey, by the way, I'm worried about our wedding and I'm worried about my stupid foot or whatever. Because I just thought, he's going to think I'm an idiot. And to be honest with you, I thought I was an idiot. And I couldn't get those thoughts out of my head about how stupid I was, that normal people don't deal with this, and normal people don't sabotage an entire event because they can't stop thinking about these stupid things in their head. And I dug deeper and deeper into finally what happened was the, anxiety haze. And I wrote a post on Instagram about this, and I had a client describe it to me one time, the anxiety haze. The anxiety haze is when you are completely entrenched in the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety, and you feel so disconnected to life. And I spent 2 days in this. Even knowing that OCD was going to show up and knowing it probably was OCD, I still couldn't almost resist it. And I remember I was driving somewhere. I was driving to like Whole Foods or something. And I always love going to Whole Foods and getting sushi. So it's always like exciting for me. I really like the little things because when you've suffered as much as you have with OCD, little things are so meaningful. Like coffee and Whole Foods or whatever, you choose. Boxed wine. That's my thing too. Anyway, I remember driving down the road and feeling so disconnected to the point where I was looking around at other cars, and then there would be like bikers going by and stuff, and I would think, I'm never going to feel the same. I'm never going to be me again. I'm never going to be able to be in my skin and feel okay. Again, this is it. This is the end. And in my brain, I'm sitting here thinking, this is so stupid. Like, exactly what's going on, like that logical brain, but it didn't matter because it just pulled me in. And that evening, just thinking, I'll just put on some movies to distract myself, just didn't work. I still just couldn't connect back to who I was. And it took me like 2 days. And then I finally, on the third day, woke up and just said, I can't handle this anymore. And I started to recognize the compulsions because that's what I needed to do. I needed to see what the compulsions were and start to reduce them and start to do some exposures around it. But I'm going to tell you something really big hit me on those 2 days. I knew that I could do ERP and I just didn't want to. And the reason why is I was afraid. And I think it's important for me to communicate that to you because it's so easy to say, just do the work and everything will be okay. And I think sometimes we really forget how powerful fear is. And the fear that I'm talking about is, what if I really don't have OCD? What if these fears are real? What if everything that I'm experiencing is finally the truth? And then I start questioning everything in my life and I start mentally reviewing everything. Now, for me, sometimes it takes me a day or two to just be in it and resist actually doing something and then get to a point where I can go, okay, now it's time to do the work. And then I often grieve. And so it was a Sunday. On that Sunday, I cried a lot. And when Sean got home, I cried and wanted some empathy and sympathy and just felt sad. And I felt sad for all of us. I felt sad for me, and I felt sad for all of us that live with this tormenting illness. And I didn't feel sad in a hopeless way. I don't want you to think that. I just kind of felt this. I sure do wish that people really knew what it's like. I sure do wish. And sometimes all of the things that we see where OCD is trivialized, or we're trying to explain it to loved ones, or we're trying to explain it to anybody, and they're just like, oh, okay, OCD, quirky, this and that. I sure do wish people got it. What it feels like to be stuck in that anxiety haze. What it feels like to think to yourself at times, I can't live like this. I can't be like this. I'm so worried this is going to be what it's like for the rest of my life. And I know that extreme. I've been there. I've been there to the point of attempting suicide. And I also know in managing OCD that with the proper techniques and understanding how to respond to it, that I can be there and then make the choice to confront it and for it to be better and that things do get better. So I know both sides of it. But it doesn't take away the fact that I want you to know, that I get it. Oftentimes I meet with people and they just say, oh, you're in recovery and, it's this and you're so far removed. And I know that you hear other advocates and people out there saying they never experience OCD and they're cured and you can be cured too. And I'm not saying that that's not the case for some people, but I want you to know that that isn't the case for all people. And there isn't this end all, grand all finish line where you go, I'll never have to deal with OCD again, because to me, that's just a big trap. And I like to make sure that you know that I know, and we all know that this is illness that needs our attention. It needs our daily input and daily management. And yes, it is worth investing in learning how to manage it, because you can live a full life. And I do feel like I live a full life. But there are those times, like the one that I just described, that it just comes up, and it's that reminder. It's the reminder of, wow, this can really get the best of me if I'm not careful. And I felt like I was even being careful, like I knew it was going to show up. And that's where I wanted to segue into, gosh, y'all, it feels so damn real. And I think that's the hard part in trying to communicate to people. And the hard part in trying to communicate to people, I worry the most sometimes that I really don't have OCD. I mean, even though I could go onto any sort of forum or even like the Y-box test or whatever and check all the boxes, and it would say, boom, your Y-box score is, 49 out of 50 or whatever it is. I can't remember what it is. I would still worry that it wasn't, and that this time is when it's for real. I wish I had an easy answer for how to jump over that hurdle and not have it be part of our experience with OCD. I really do. The only thing that I have to do is just to say, in which I did a couple weeks ago, and I'll tell you the outcome of that in a minute, was to say, maybe it's not this time. Maybe this is going to plague my day, and it is going to make it awful. And I have to be willing to accept that and plan for that to happen, versus just sitting in this day after day after day and not living my life. That's how I handle it. Again, I just want to emphasize that sometimes it takes me a couple days when I get into that hazy feeling, and then I have to grieve it too, and I think that's appropriate. It's okay. I've said this before in videos, and I'm going to say it again. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel like it's not fair and to feel jealous of other people that they don't understand and that they don't have to go through it. I feel all these things too. It's okay. These are natural emotions to dealing with something that's so powerful and so debilitating and so distressing. And I allow myself to do that. And it always feels better when I do. Some of the things that go through my mind when I am wrestling with what if this isn't OCD and this is real this time is then I start to question everything that has gone on before, and all of like the old fears come up. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, what if I'm living a lie? And of course, then there's what if there really isn't anything called OCD and there are therapists out there just taking advantage of us and yada, yada, yada. And then I start, when I'm contemplating doing ERP, I really think to myself, what if it doesn't work this time? And if it doesn't work, that proves that this is real, and that proves I'm going to stay in this state for the rest of my life. Or if I decided to go back to therapy, which I haven't since I've been through successful therapy, what if the therapist says this isn't OCD? And oftentimes, like, I'll even reach out to some of my therapy friends for reassurance. I'm all like, have you ever heard of, like, injury OCD, yada, yada, yada? I think they know exactly what I'm doing. And they don't give me reassurance. Damn them. But it's still that I'm wanting to know that this is or this isn't. Knowing full well, even if someone said it was, I would still not believe that it was. Other things are worried that I'm going to go through I'm going to do what I've always done when it comes to ERP, and it's not going to work. And then it proves it's not real. And then in proving that it's not real, it's going to also have me question everything else in my life. And then, of course, having to worry about telling my loved ones that this is going on, and them thinking, especially like right before my wedding, thinking to myself, well, Sean's going to hear this and think, what am I marrying? Which he didn't. And not that I don't talk to him about it a lot, but I'm really protective about talking about it, which is probably not a good thing, just so you know. That's not great self-care, but I grew up that way, not talking about things and not talking about this in particular, and so it is definitely a hard habit to break. Anyway, I just wanted to share with you that if you feel that way, and most of us do, so I know that you can probably relate, when we get the fears, some of the more bigger fears are, what if it's not OCD? That can keep us from going into therapy. It can keep us from seeking help. It can keep you from talking to a peer support. Don't let it. It's just part of OCD. That's a little reassurance, but it's true. It's just another hurdle of uncertainty that, yes, we're not ever really going to get the certainty that it is, but you can get the treatment and that can really start to dissipate and be less distressing. So anyway, to full circle this, I did do ERP on that fear. I ended up feeling a lot better within about 3 or 4 days of doing consistent ERP. And then what I decided to do was to bring OCD into the wedding. So I didn't actually write it in an invite, but I did think to myself, okay, on the day of the wedding, I am going to think, how can OCD show up? How can it walk down the aisle with me? How can it be there in the audience? And interestingly enough, the day before, I hadn't had any spikes, and I was really worried. I was like, my first thought was, oh my God, what if I wake up tomorrow and I throw up? That's like something you can't control. So, but I just told myself, I'll still try to walk down the aisle, even if someone has to carry me. And during the ceremony, right before I walked down the aisle, actually, I thought to myself, okay, OCD, give it your best shot. Whatever it is, just bring it. And I walked down the aisle. We got up on the gazebo. And in the middle of like the whole ceremony, I all of a sudden got this nausea pang. And I thought, oh my God, I'm seriously going to barf. And I just thought, okay, well, maybe I will, but I'm still saying this damn vows. And it went off without a hitch, and it was okay. But I really just wanted to share the experience with you because even though I don't experience OCD in that capacity as often as I used to, or especially before I was treated appropriately with ERP for it, I do want you to know that I get it. And I do want you to know that you're not alone, and that one of the things that I felt the most during those 2 days when I was in that anxiety haze was, oh my God, how alone I felt. And I had the opportunity to reach out to people, my support system, who, chastised me later for not. And I didn't. I felt embarrassed. I felt stupid. I felt ashamed. I was worried they were going to tell me that it wasn't OCD, or I was worried that they wouldn't give me reassurance. All these fears and all these things. But I do want to tell you this. On that Saturday, which was probably the worst part of it, it was in the afternoon, I thought about you. I thought about all of you. And I thought about how many people have reached out, how many emails I've exchanged, how many comments people write, how many people I've gotten to meet and hear their stories. And I remembered that. And I thought, if they can do it and get through this illness that's so debilitating and so distressing, then so can I. And you are the one that gave me the motivation to think, I can do this. I can get through this. This is a bad day, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean every day is going to be bad. And so for that, I just want to thank you. You are just as much a part of my life as that I am the videos that you watch that help you at some points, just as much a part of your life. So thank you. And it's so great to know that we are all in this together and that we don't have to be alone. So just wanted to share that with you. And also the joyous occasion of getting married. I never thought that I would, to be honest with you. I was married briefly in my 20s. It was just bad timing, and I just hadn't healed from a lot of what had happened. But a lot of what OCD has told me in my life is that I didn't deserve to get married or to have the life that I wanted. And I'm thankful to say that, yes, it's taken many, many years, but I feel like I've taken that part back. And if you're in that state, you can too, because this is just an illness. It isn't you. It doesn't define your character, and it certainly doesn't determine what you deserve, because you deserve what I deserve, and I've chosen to believe that I deserve to be happy. And if that's the case, you deserve to be happy too. So I hope you're having a great day. And if you're not, and you're here and needed some inspiration and hope, I hope that this video gave you that, to know that you're not alone. There is hope, and recovery is possible. If you are in need of peer support or referrals to therapists in your area that can treat OCD, please go to my website at chrissyhodges.com and send me a message, and you can also find out about the services that I offer. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.